Shut up and refill more popcorn. Shut up and refill more popcorn.
But with me, without further ado, let me just introduce my special guest. I have CJEmanuel in the house. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, man? Thanks for inviting me. I'm glad to be here, bro. Let's do it.
Honestly, like I said before we started recording, I'm honored to have you on, bro. A fellow K100 listener, Patreon supporter, fan.
That's right. Fan. Shout out to
And
Cody Disco, Joe Feeney.
yeah, shout out to them. As much as I want to get into, I want to get a little bit of your background on stand-up, bro. Like I said, I did a little bit of open mics and stuff. And how long have you been into it and been doing it?
I'm gonna try and make this the short answer. Okay, so I initially started, not even started, but just as a bucket list thing, going through a divorce in 2008.
Yeah,
did a 5-minute open mic and did that. Did pretty good. Some hacky bit about being single and walking around the house butt naked again and whatever. And smash cut to 2019. I'm still living in Virginia, getting ready to move back down to San Antonio. And I take a workshop through this program called Armed Services Arts Partnership, ASAP, asap.org. And they're great because they teach not just stand-up comedy. They have programs like improv. This is going to be a long answer. I can feel it. I'm going to try and make it short, but
it's cool. It's cool.
Short answer. So ASAP is a program that has not just stand-up comedy, but improv, songwriting, or maybe not songwriting, but creative writing, other arts type programs that are offered to active duty, retired, former military, spouses, family members, VA caregivers. Oh, wow. And most of them are free, or they're scholarship, and they have like different scholarships for other programs. They're based in DC. I went through the program that was run through the Norfolk, Virginia area. Smash cut to 2022, last year, because I moved down here. COVID got in the way, fear got in the way, started fucking with me a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm talking.
Oh, you can cuss, bro. Fuck it.
All right. So honestly, my real start is I'm coming up on a year of actively doing it. And even
now, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but do you do open mics? Do you do?
Oh yeah. I was at a Elbow Room last night. Had a great time out there.
I was thinking about going yesterday, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Man, that would have been awesome, bro. Yeah.
That'd have been cool. I met a really cool dude there, Duck Easy. I don't know if you ever ran into him.
Man, I was talking about this on another podcast, the John Don't Know Show. Shout out to my boy John Abraham and Jimmy Lou.
Cool.
And we were talking Duck Easy. He's a funny dude, man. He tried to book me like my very first time hanging out there. I was too scared to even get up, and he was like, "Hey, man, you got 10 minutes?" No, man.
Yeah,
I was 5 yet at the time.
To be honest, he's probably the only guy I ran into doing open mic that he just engaged me in conversation.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if it's just being there in open mic, you're in your own, you're in your zone. You kind of don't want to mess. Well, I don't know. People are kind of.
But Doug puts on shows as well, and he runs a mic on. It used to be every Sunday at this spot called Rocky's Tavern.
Yeah,
that's a cool spot to work out as well. So San Antonio has damn near every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Stage is going back to having on Wednesdays. Bentley on. So yeah, from like Monday to Thursday, there's an open mic. Sunday to Thursday, there's an open mic somewhere in San Antonio. And Upstage Comedy Lounge and Laugh Out Loud are the two like main clubs there. And I've worked at both of those spots and had a good time at both of those times. So there's some talent out here in San Antonio.
I did, like I said, I did a few open mics, and I think I had done one years ago, like 2008, 2009, but I think I was kind of tipsy. I started drinking a little bit to kind of calm my nerves.
Most of.
But I didn't drink beer. I was taking shots. So all I can remember off the top of my head was that me and my buddy went. He went on, and then I went on. But I remember somebody talking to me about his set. And he was asking me like, "Hey, he was asking me like, I don't know. I wasn't trying to be rude because this is my boy, this is my friend.
Yeah.
And then years later, I did I think I've talked about it. I did a film slam, and you get in state, you get in front of an audience, and you introduce a piece of film or whatever you worked on, whether starred in, rate, whatever, and
Okay.
you for 5 minutes, and then people like a poetry slam, and people jot down, they give you a rating, what they liked, what you did, what they didn't like, what could be improved, creative criticism.
Oh,
And
nice.
my brother told me that I look so natural up there, just on the mic, introducing this, and well, not really. Well, yeah, I guess a coworker friend passed away last year, and it just you start thinking about stuff like
Yeah.
stop regret. You do it. What's wrong? Just
Yep.
pull the trigger, And so I did it. I did it a few times, and I had fun, dude. I miss it. I really do. Just being on there, even I'm not professional, and I'm still getting my feet wet. I'm gonna stumble, but just the random stuff that you don't think is funny that actually hits, and it kind of
Mm-hmm.
takes you back.
Yep.
Like, okay, then now I can work with this and stuff like
I
that.
was I was just talking to a kid who's going through a workshop at Upstage a couple hours ago. Told me the same thing. In our conversation, he's going over some bit ideas, and he threw something out there that made me laugh, and he just blew right through it. I said, "That's a throwaway, bro." Yeah, anytime. Yeah, so go back and listen to your stuff. He's brand new too, bro. He's, I mean, I'm a baby comic. This dude just popped. His head is he's still in it, and his head just popped out. He's crowning. You know what I'm saying? He's so brand new, and so yeah, I kind of told him that same thing that you just alluded to, bro. Listen to those unintentional pops because that's your natural talent for one, and that's something that's telling you that you're onto something. And
Yeah.
that helped me when I was writing my first five last year, getting ready for a showcase, and I'm still butt nervous. I'm at Elbow Room. Elbow Room took me a while to get used to being home. I got accepted there early, but as far as getting over at the open mic and getting comfortable, that spot it used to intimidate me a little bit, but now I love it. LOL still kind of intimidates me a little bit because that's kind of like our big spot or whatever.
Yeah.
What the hell was I talking about before? Going back, let me get my point back. I was talking about what the hell was I talking about? I told you ADHD is a mug, bro. What was I just talking about?
How the guy you were talking to about, like, you hear something that you don't think is gonna land, and then it pops the
Yeah,
crowd.
right. Yeah, so go back and
Work on
listen.
that.
So especially, yeah, so go back and listen. I told him go back and listen to your set as raw as it is, and the laughs that you didn't get that you expected. But listen to see if you got any chuckles on something you said setting that shit up.
Yeah.
Because he's got potentials for some really good stuff. His background and stuff, his backstory. He's got some potential for some good material. So just kind of coaching him a little bit. So it's funny, small world universe, all that shit.
Yeah. I'm
It's like,
surprised a lot of people that are on the K100 Patreon are not just from Texas, but they actually, San Antonio area, or even, just
yeah,
like me, like I moved back home 2 hours away, but it's not, it's not like going to Austin or going to like to Dallas. That's a hell of a trip.
yeah.
San Antonio has always just been, not just down the road,
Mm.
and so hearing people when K Dog Conan does his shout outs, and he shouts out everybody that signed up and where they're from.
Here, South
It's
Texas. All
surprising, but at the same time, it's like, okay, cool. It's really cool.
this makes sense. I
But
mean, it's a huge Latino population, huge military
yeah,
community in San Antonio, so it makes sense, bro. A lot of wrestling history. I grew
yeah,
up a Bucks fan. I grew up a world class championship wrestling fan. Back in the little nappy headed kid back in the '80s, bro. You know what I'm saying? Watching
I,
Ric Flair, Kerry Von Erich in the Sportatorium. I didn't see it live, but seeing it on TV, watching it
yeah,
world class, and being mad as hell at Ric Flair and being mad as hell at Michael Hayes and Terry Gordy for screwing over Kerry Von Erich because he had the NWA championship one. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So yeah, so this area makes sense to have a large K100 and a large wrestling fan.
A large basically Southern wrestling, WCW, which was what NWA,
We got
and
some big counts out down here back in the day too. So we got some, Georgia championship. We saw some of all
yeah,
that shit today.
yeah. before we get into the main issue here on the podcast, I just want to iterate. My small town did not have my cable did not have TNT or USA. So during the Monday Night Wars, only thing I had was Saturday night on TBS. And I don't know if you saw the Patreon just released JoJo the watch along where you get to choose a match and watch it with them. I did mine on a Saturday night. I was gonna say main event, a Saturday night WCW match that I remember when I was a kid because it was him, Disco Inferno versus Norman Smiley. Now, I really, really liked doing the match because Norman Smiley was probably one of my favorite wrestlers, and it was the Wiggle. And now, in this match particular, Disco banned the Wiggle for some reason. And so, like, just to get back to where I was getting at, I had seen a tweet by I forget who it was, Ryan Satin or somebody, and it was like he was channel surfing between the two channels for Nitro and Raw, and I'm just like, hey, bro, I don't know what that was like. I remember seeing the Nitro highlights on Saturday night, and then when 98 came, TBS had Thunder. I know I was super excited when Thunder came out because it was a weekly television show just like Nitro that we could finally see.
I remember like back in those days, in that period that you're talking about, like late '90s, early 2000s. I was in the Navy. I was like a young E5. I was third class, E4, E5. And bro, we used to have like a version of tape trading where we'd be underway, right? And like some cats were WWF fans, some cats were WCW fans, some guys were ECW. That's how I learned about ECW. And so their wives and girlfriends and mothers, fathers, whatever family, they would send care packages. They would send the wrestling tapes. So instead of watching porn on Friday night, we might still watch porn on Friday night, and then on Saturday morning we might watch. We'll watch Nitro, we'll watch Raw, we'll get caught up. The pay-per-views, we would get caught up while underway or whatever. And the same thing in port. If we're on duty or on watch, if we weren't on watch, we were watching either Raw or Nitro
live,
flipping back and forth and all that, man. So, and then I remember this one cat that his name was Chris. He was a radio man. And so we're talking technology. We didn't have email. We didn't have any of that stuff. All that stuff was brand new.
Yeah.
So it was like message traffic. And so we would get our news. He'd come down to the admin office, the ship's office, and give us the AFRTS message bulletin on board, but what happened, at Hell in a Cell or whatever, what I'm saying?
Okay.
Wow. He was our go-to source for what was going on. We were big WWF. He was a big WWF fan. He died at 9/11 at the Pentagon. I had seen him maybe like 3 weeks prior because I was there too. I was like 3 weeks prior. But yeah, he was like a big time wrestling mark. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Before we get started, let me just go ahead and just thank you for your service, dude. Like no bullshit.
Yeah.
As a son, my dad's a Vietnam veteran. I got a lot of love and a lot of appreciation for the people that enlist, and went over and whatever in any service. I mean, they have to be war, but just a huge thank you, dude. Like
appreciate
from the bottom of my heart.
100%.
Oh man. Let's get into your comedy. We did a little bit at the beginning.
Okay.
I don't know if I think we had recorded, but I'm sure you've seen the clips of George Lopez shitting on an up and coming Latino artist and all the hate and all all this stuff. All these people that take a snippet, they don't listen or watch the whole 2-hour conversation. They just take a snippet and then they jump on it. Do you think he's getting a lot of undeserved hate because of it, or just he is a certain way politically and just in his ways now that people don't agree with it, and they basically want to shit on for no reason?
Yeah. So I know the name Raul Barbosa, but I'm not really familiar with his acts. So I guess the question I have, because in the Black community, there's a pocket of people who feel if you blow up, you got to bring everyone else up. So is that the same in the Latino community? So is is
I
is
I think
is George
priority.
Lopez obligated? Say again. I'm go ahead.
I'm
I'm
sorry, but
sorry.
I
Go ahead.
think I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think categorizing it as to just race, why can't just people help each other? Help another person regardless of race, gender, orientation. If they're funny, you think they're funny, hey man, let me hey, you want to do a show? You got this little gig going on. Like we talked about Duck Easy, how he wanted to include you in a show, and you had just, I think you said you just started out, or you were still in the beginning
I hadn't
phases
even
and stuff.
started. I hadn't even started.
Yeah, and so it's
Yeah,
like,
I hadn't even started. Yeah.
and so like I think people just, they've heard stories, and I've heard stories, and people have their own incidences with George Lopez that, oh, it's just personal and incidences, and then just hearing stories like, oh, like he didn't want to help somebody come up, or he don't. Some people just some people they don't want to be looked as a stepping stone, if that makes sense. Like, oh,
Mm.
you used me to get on top or whatever.
I
And I
mean,
think maybe he saw that in the beginning. He's just like, you know what? Nah. And like I said, the whole conversation, I listened to the whole 2 hours. I'm a Steve Trevino fan. I don't know if you know who he is.
yeah,
And
I know Steve.
he got, oh, I'm pretty sure, because he's got his face on the LOL window. I forgot about that. And just listening to his podcast and his comedy, and just him being from Texas, maybe it's a Texas thing that we want to help other people, and it shouldn't be. I mean,
I've heard from a comic here, Big Al Gonzalez, who's originally from Bay Area, San Francisco, has been in San Antonio for a while, and he's said to me how San Antonio is, it's not Austin, it's not LA, it's not Chicago, it's not New York, it's not. Um, but one thing that is a little different that he hasn't seen much anywhere else is there seems to be more of a desire for comics to work together here. But even that's kind of clicky. I've seen in certain spots and stuff.
yeah,
But it's not uncommon for people to form up little collectives. And because in San Antonio, if you're not hitting upstage or laugh out loud, your options are really to either get out of town or produce your own shit. And Duck produces a lot of his own stuff.
yeah. I follow him on
So
Facebook. I
um,
see a lot of stuff that he's doing and involved with. And I've, since starting this podcast and interacting with a bunch of other creative people that do their own podcasts, and music artists and physical artists, and it shouldn't, and with social media, let's say, hey, I'm gonna tell my cousin, hey, help me promote my podcast. Oh yeah, okay, cool. And then they don't, and
yeah,
then this whole hashtag network familia that I'm involved with, and like I said, these other people are involved with. It's just a big group text message of other people liking and retweeting these, promoting other people's stuff, and helping bring other audiences, other people. Like, I wouldn't have known some of these other podcasts had I not been involved in it. And then
yeah,
knowing that and listening to them, sometimes when they don't put out an episode, I'm just like, man, why do I gotta wait so long? Like,
yeah.
it's it's good to have that positivity, because let's be real, social media can be negative as fuck.
Hell
And
yeah.
everybody getting, I mean, I've always said social media has always been a soapbox that, not only, you got this one dude who's, he has his views or his thing, Alex Jones style, but if you don't, amplify it to the world through social media, no one's really gonna know or
Mm,
care.
yeah.
Sometimes the good blow up, and so do, the bad, if that makes any sense. And I'm all for helping, and like I just did JJ Claxton's podcast, and it's
Ooh, tick tock, you
he's
don't
he's a
stop.
really cool dude. He's a really, I had him on my podcast, and I told him, like, it was cool to see him doing his thing.
Yeah.
And I really hope he keeps doing it. I hope he brings on a lot of other people, and I'm always down to promote you to other um I'd encourage you to go follow That's Wild podcast. Those are my boys Tito and Everett.
Okay.
They're really they haven't been up to doing their podcast lately, I think because football season and stuff.
Right.
But hopefully they're gonna ramp up and do some things. But I encourage a lot of people to go check them out. And B and D Mike, the B and Mike D show. They've got some awesome episodes. The Geekdom fan cast, and it's total strangers helping total strangers in a way that's like, positive. That and networking is basically what I'm getting at. So you do one podcast, you do get your name out there, and you're introduced to a whole new group of people.
Yeah, that's the goal. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, everybody's trying to be successful and it ain't gonna happen overnight. I mean, I ain't gonna do a damn TikTok dance, but I'll lip sync a scene from Harlem Nights, movies that I love and stuff like that. But yeah, when you asked to be on the podcast, you asked me if I have guests, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I do have guests, but it's not like every week is a different person.
Right.
But
I've listened to a couple of episodes to get smartened up. I listened to your last one. I see you do some solos, and
yeah,
I want to do something similar, but I don't want to steal your gimmick, bro. Because I kind of the cheesy movies that my sister used to want to watch all the fucking time when cable first came out and shit. That's how
man. If Coke and Pepsi can coexist, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I might
but
might do it with you.
I've said it many times. This whole thing is a creative outlet for me, bro. Like, I'm a goof. I'm silly. I always like making people laugh. And, I've been tinkering with, I don't know if you heard JJ's podcast, about getting into script writing and indie films and stuff like that.
That's dope, bro.
And I'm in a perfect situation right now where I'm not working on the weekends, and come home tired. I'm actually have a little bit more free time, a little bit more family time. And, ever since we moved back, yeah, it sucks because I can't go and, wet my whistle on open mic nights and go to different and so, but I can still do what I want to do in a way that's creative, but this on my time in a way, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does.
So
is there a scene? I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you. Is there a scene in Del Rio, Uvalde, somewhere around there? Like,
I was thinking about that.
Radio and Corpus all the time, so I was wondering.
I was thinking about looking into that, but I really haven't had the time. And I have a friend of mine that works at it. I think it's like a bar and grill. But I haven't talked to her. I mean, we're friends on social media, and that's about it. And it's just, I think I'd much rather go places where no one's gonna recognize me in a way.
Okay.
Because if I do one and like, hey, I saw you, like, I understand now why people. I understand why actors don't see their films. You know what I mean? Like, you don't. Yeah. It's almost cringy in a way. Like, you did it.
Oh, it's very cringy, bro. I record all my open mics, all of my shows, either on my phone, audio or video, and I think I might have watched 5% of them. It's hard to go back and watch yourself in years, but you have to, especially in this craft, because you gotta watch you gotta watch it like you're watching game film. You got to get used to hearing your voice. You got to learn, and I'm still working on it, but you got to learn to be objective and say, okay, I'm fidgeting too much here. I need to stop putting my hand in my pocket. Okay, I stuttered here. I meant to say this. Okay, this really hit. I didn't expect this to hit, and be that scientific about it. And I respect the comics that have developed that muscle, because I sure haven't developed it yet.
Yeah. I listen to a lot of Joey Diaz and Burt Kreischer's and episodes, and just hearing them talk about open mic and just in general comedy itself, and that's why I was so happy you reached out, because I know you did stand up, and I know you sent in that video to Disco and them,
first ever juicy funny submission. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. And so I was like, I mean, let me pick his brain. Cause I mean, I'm still a guppy. Let's be real. I did 2 or 3 open mics, maybe I think 4, but one of them I didn't record. And and I'm always open to hear people in it doing it, and and just taking in the knowledge like a sponge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And hearing, and if you're open, like I'll send you some links. I don't know if they're unlisted, but my open mics, and I want to see, I want to hear your opinions and
Okay, I'll be happy to, bro. Yeah, I'll be
pointers and
happy to.
stuff if you're down. And so yeah, this has been a very, very fun conversation, bro. And this movie, I know you want to stick with the gimmick, but if you ever want to talk about anything else, um, movies you love, stuff, I do that extra butter feed, and it's the whole complete, the whole, oh, my favorite movie, and it's a thing. I
Okay.
haven't done much of those lately, only because I'm concentrating on getting to episode 100 and
Okay.
knocking these out weekly. I
Okay.
think come April, when I have some time, I'm gonna start knocking out some more, extra butterfeed podcast episodes and stuff. And
Okay. All right. I'm gonna hold you to that because I already have a couple movies in mind and stuff. So yeah, get to your 100, bro, and then I'll come bug the shit out of you. You know what I'm saying? I'll definitely
yeah, I
come.
mean,
Had a great time hanging out here, bro. So